Hey everybody, Travis Bowman here with a really quick video talking about our friend the harp guitar. Now, I've been playing the harp guitar for 10 years in 2024. It's been a great 10 years, man. I've really enjoyed this instrument to its fullest capabilities. I'm really happy to have one, to be honest with you. It's such a heavenly sounding instrument. The possibilities with this thing compared to a 6-string acoustic guitar, it's night and day difference. Of course, that is because of our extra sub-bass strings that we have on the instrument. Now, on some harp guitars you'll have 5, and some harp guitars you'll have 6. That's the most common configuration for your harp guitar as far as your sub-basses are concerned. So like I said, I've been playing this instrument for 10 years, and I've taken it all over the world with me on tours and stuff like that, and at the harp guitar gathering. And I'm a guitar teacher. I've been teaching the guitar for several years now, and I get a kick out of bringing it with me to teach. I've got a lot of young kids that are interested in the guitar, and when I show them something like this, it really kind of blows their minds. And I'm really just trying to channel like my inner younger self, because when I was a kid, YouTube had just come out, and I noticed players like Tom Shinnis and Andy McKee, Stephen Bennett, Muriel Anderson, guys like that, and girls, guitar players like that, really kind of inspired me. And it's just one of those moments where you look at it and you're like, I really have to have one of these things. And I was in high school at the time. I was like a freshman in high school. Eventually I did get my own, and ever since then I've had a really difficult time putting it down, just because it's such a fun instrument. The most common reaction that I have when I say, here, test it out, put it in your hands, and tell me what you think about it, most often than not, the guitar player that I'm trying to hand off this instrument to is very defensive and like, oh no, I can't do that, I can't play that thing. Well, sure you can. You can't play it very well at this time if it's your very first time, but what I'm getting at is this instrument is extremely approachable, and more so than you might imagine. There's a couple of different schools of thought as far as tuning this instrument. I prefer the Stephen Bennett method, just because that's what I kind of grew up playing on your sub-bass strings. These sub-basses are just floating here, so you can tune them to whatever you want. And that's really cool, as long as you're in, that safe range of, you don't want to go too high to snap your string, and you don't want it to be so low that you can't tell what note it is. So the Stephen Bennett tuning is based on a G major scale, and we've got a G, A, B, C, D, and then another G. Kind of. Why would you want to have 2 Gs? Well, if you're in the key of G, that's nice, I guess, and it's nice to have 2 octaves on your bass notes here. Think of this as your starting position for your tuning on your sub-bass strings, meaning you can tune this higher G down to an F sharp, and you can get away with doing a lot of things on the harp guitar that you couldn't necessarily do on your regular old 6-string. For example, an F sharp minor chord. If you're the guy that's like, yeah, I like to play the guitar, but I'm not the biggest fan of bar chords, voila, harp guitar. Take some of that load off of your hands by playing the harp guitar. So this is normally our F sharp minor bar chord here. You don't necessarily have to do that big heavy bar chord anymore if you've got your harp guitar, because here's that F sharp that we mentioned only moments ago, and you could just do this. And that sounds pretty good. It sounds a lot like this, but with considerably less effort on your part. That's just one example, and let me go ahead and show you this. Now that I've got this F sharp here instead of a G, you can combine certain bass notes to have some really big, powerful piano sounding chords. We've got a B and an F sharp, so here you go. Here's your F sharp and your B. There's you a B minor chord. And you can mess around with some 7th fret harmonics. And that's a really cool Only the harp guitar is going to sound like this. You can't really get this sound out of any other guitar. You can have all sorts of different chords. For example, here's a D chord. You can kind of flourish around with that and get all these different extensions of that, like some sus chords and stuff like that. What if you did the same thing and then your next chord was like a B minor? You don't have to do anything different on your neck. Just reach up there and grab that B. For example, here's the D that we just did. And a B. Why not an A? End it with a G. A chord, and then right back home to D. Fun? That's the harp guitar. That's how cool the harp guitar is. What I was doing was not incredibly difficult or advanced or even that much of an intermediate thing. If you know how to play a little bit of fingerstyle and learn a couple of these little patterns, and you can pretty much do this on this instrument. And like anything else, it's just going to take you a little bit of time to get used to your bass strings that are just kind of floating here. Like anything else, it just takes practice. This instrument is not as unapproachable as most would lead you to believe. And yes, I've been playing it for 10 years, but I kind of got the hang of it about a year or two in, you know? I mean, there's not a lot to it. You reach up and you grab your sub basses with all of the other stuff that you're doing on the instrument. Now, the other thing, before I get too far ahead of myself, the other thing that's actually really, really cool about this instrument is the harmonics. There are several harmonics throughout our sub bass notes that are also going to be on your guitar neck as well, but it's so cool to actually pick these harmonics. And let me give you an example, and you probably can't see it from that far away, but I've got these harmonic locations marked with a Sharpie. That's a little trick that I stole from Muriel Anderson. By marking these locations with that Sharpie, then by law it's inexcusable for me to miss one of those because I have it marked. So here's some of the lower register down here. Hear how that just swells together like an ocean of music. Now we're going to do the same thing up here. And then finally way up here. My Sharpie's wearing off down here. That's why I missed that first note. And then there's even more examples throughout every part of this string that I have not marked, and get some weird ones too. That. That's kind of dark sounding. Sounds like the aliens are trying to visit us while we're talking about this instrument. Another point that I'd like to make about the harp guitar is the fact that when I started all those years ago, 10 years ago now, these things were really hard to get. You have to be rich to get one of these in your hands and own a harp guitar, if we're being real. That's not the case anymore. A lot has happened in 10 years, and this instrument is actually quite more affordable than you might imagine. Now, what I have here is a Dyer Style 5. You can get the old school Dyer Style 5s and 4s and whatnot. Those are still going to be kind of pricey, but there's a few companies out there. One of them is called Timberline harp guitars, and they make kind of a copy of this design, and they're mass producing these instruments as well as, you know, 6 strings and stuff like that. But they are really the company that's making your harp guitars these days, and you can get a harp guitar for like $1,000, which, you know, $1,000 is a lot of money, but look at it next to a Gibson Les Paul. Which one do you think you would have more fun with? The Gibson Les Paul, which is going to be a lot more than $1,000, or an instrument like this with several other capabilities and possibilities that Les Paul wouldn't even begin to touch. Now, the other company that is kind of mass-producing harp guitars is a company out of Ireland called Emerald Guitars. I've done a review of their X20 harp guitar. It's a big boy. It's a big boy with a big butt on it, like mine here. But the interesting thing about Emerald is that they make their harp guitars and pretty much every single instrument completely out of carbon fiber. So that's something interesting specifically to the harp guitar, because there's a lot of tension. There's so much tension on this instrument. This is a 70 compared to like a 12 down here on my little E string. That's a lot of tension. You know, wood under a tremendous amount of pressure, as well as being out in the elements, like in the cold or in the heat, in the humidity, not enough humidity. There's all sorts of different factors that could damage your instrument, especially if you're not careful. With the Emerald harp guitar, you don't really have to worry about that because it's all carbon fiber. So that's just an example. So I just wanted to make this video really quick to spread some love about this instrument that I care so much about. It's really become a part of my identity at this point because I've been playing it for so long, and I love it to death. And I'll never forget the first time that I saw it being played on YouTube, and that's Mr. Stephen Bennett. And that, like I said before, that was the moment where I said, I've got to have that. At some point in my life, when I can afford it, I need to have an instrument like that. And, you know, I was the guy that was sending Luthier's emails back in the day saying, like, do you have a payment plan? Is there something we can work out here? Because I have to have this harp guitar. And 10 years later, just looking back on it, I've had a lot of great memories with this instrument, and I've played a lot of songs on it. And if you're a creative person and you just want something for yourself as a creative outlet, this is a great place to go, because you can arrange music with this that you can't do on the regular guitar. You can play music from other harp guitar players that have written their own songs. You can try out their arrangements, and then of course you can try to do some of your own. And if you're looking to do something creative on your guitar and you don't want to just sit there and learn like a guitar solo from the 70s or the 80s, and you want to branch out a little further and do something a little more creative, this is such a great instrument for that. So that's going to about do it, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Travis Bowman. I really hope you found this video to be informative and at least interesting. Have you guys ever seen a harp guitar before in person? You ever had one in your hands? What do you think about it? If you're interested in hearing this instrument, I've got several videos on my YouTube channel of me actually playing this thing. And if you'd like to check that out, feel free to do so. Thanks so much for subscribing. I really appreciate it. We're starting 2024 with over 4,000 subscribers, and that's really amazing considering last year I was stuck at around 1,000. So really happy with the growth on my YouTube channel, and I'm just going to keep pumping them out, man. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and I'll catch you guys at the next one. Bye-bye.